Welcome to the Prescott Lab Podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. And today, I have a question that might sound strange at first, but stay with me. What if the same white powder you use to clean your sink or freshen your fridge could quietly help restore blood flow to your most vital organ of manhood? I'm talking about baking soda. Yes, really, because for thousands of men over 60, smart, strong, proud men like yourself, it's made a remarkable difference. Not just in circulation, but in stamina, in intimacy, in confidence. And no, this isn't hype or internet folklore. It's science. Practical, testable, and quietly powerful. Now, before we dive into the 10 surprising ways baking soda can support stronger, healthier erections after 60, let me ask you for one small favor. If you're watching this right now, go ahead and hit that like button. Why? Because the men who like this podcast, they tend to have warmer hands, deeper sleep, and let's just say more memorable mornings. Is it magic? No. But maybe it's momentum, maybe it's intention. And maybe, just maybe, that tiny act of support sends a message to your body: I'm not giving up. So hit that like button. Drop a comment, even just a one if this resonates with you or a if you're still on the fence. Either way, I wish you strength, I wish you health, and I truly believe that the men who show up and stay curious, they're the ones who heal. Now let's get started. Because baking soda, something already in your kitchen, might just be the missing link to restoring what you thought was lost. Let's begin with the first powerful benefit and why your blood's pH may secretly be holding you back. Benefit number 1: balances your blood pH to improve circulation. Let me tell you about someone I met not long ago. His name was Leonard, 68, retired contractor from Missouri. He had firm shoulders, calloused hands, and the quiet frustration of a man who had once built houses with ease but now struggled to feel at home in his own body. He sat down in my office, hesitated for a moment, then said it straight. "Doc, it's like I'm fading. I still love my wife, I still want her, but nothing's working. I feel disconnected, not just down there, everywhere." We ran the usual panels. Heart looked fine, blood sugar stable. But I noticed something small, almost hidden. His blood pH was tipping slightly acidic. Now most men have never heard about this. But as we age, especially with the modern diet, stress, and slow hydration decline, the internal chemistry of the blood can shift out of balance. And when your blood becomes even mildly more acidic, your blood vessels tighten, they constrict, they lose flexibility. Think of it like this. You're trying to water your lawn, but the garden hose is bent in half. The water's there. The pressure is good, but nothing flows. An acidic pH quietly stiffens the arteries, making it harder for blood to move where it needs to. And for a man, that means slower circulation, reduced sensitivity, and a loss of those spontaneous, full responses that once came so easily. That's where baking soda comes in, not as a miracle, but as a gentle nudge toward equilibrium. When taken correctly, usually in small amounts, diluted in water on an empty stomach, baking soda helps reduce acidity and restore your blood's natural alkalinity. That doesn't mean turning your body into a chemistry experiment. It means creating an environment where blood vessels can relax again, where oxygen and nutrients can flow freely, where the spark has room to move. With Leonard, we started small. A quarter teaspoon in warm water first thing in the morning, 3 times a week. No big changes, just consistency. After about 3 weeks, he walked in smiling. His words stuck with me. "I don't know what you did, Doc, but I feel awake again." And my wife, she noticed before I did. That's the power of subtle internal balance. It doesn't scream, it doesn't push. But when your blood flows more freely, everything starts to move with it. Your energy, your clarity, your connection. And this is just the beginning. Because while pH may be the foundation, there's another silent force working against most men over 60, and it doesn't get nearly enough attention. It's not your testosterone, it's inflammation. And in the next section, I'll show you how baking soda may be one of the simplest tools to fight back. Benefit number 2, reduces inflammation in blood vessels. Not long ago, I sat across from a man named Walter, 71, retired corrections officer. Still had that firm handshake, still carried himself like a man who used to command a room. But when we closed the door, his voice softened. I want to be close with my wife, Doc, I really do, but something's off. My mind says yes. My heart says yes, but the rest of me doesn't answer. It's like my body's not getting the message. And I knew exactly what he meant. I'd heard it before many times. We ran his labs, blood pressure was decent. No diabetes, testosterone, low normal, nothing alarming, but one number caught my eye. His CRP, C-reactive protein, was elevated, a quiet marker of inflammation. Now here's the part most men don't hear from their doctors. It's not just low testosterone that steals your performance. It's inflammation. Chronic, low-grade background fire inside your blood vessels. The kind that hardens the endothelium, the soft inner lining where blood flow begins and nitric oxide is produced. That's the very system that tells your body it's time to open up, time to respond. But when inflammation takes root, the signal gets blocked. It's like static on the line. You may feel desire, but your body can't deliver the message. This is where baking soda becomes quietly powerful. In recent studies, sodium bicarbonate has been shown to activate anti-inflammatory pathways, especially within the spleen and kidneys, two organs that help regulate systemic inflammation. It doesn't shut down the immune system, it helps calm it. So your blood vessels can open, your tissues can respond, and your body can trust the signal again. With Walter, we kept it simple. Half a teaspoon of baking soda in water 3 mornings a week, paired with 15 minutes of light walking after breakfast. Nothing dramatic, just rhythm and respect for the process. About a month later, he came back in, looked me in the eye, and said something I'll never forget. It's like something inside me got unclogged, not just down there, everywhere. I feel lighter. And that's what it feels like when inflammation starts to fade. Like the noise goes quiet, like you're finally breathing through both lungs again. We talk a lot about blood flow, and we should, but before the blood can flow, the path has to be clear. The vessel has to open, the signal has to reach its destination. And that signal, it rides on something most men have never heard of but depend on every single day. It's time to talk about nitric oxide. The quiet molecule that flips the switch. Let's move on. Benefit number 3, supports natural nitric oxide production. There was a man named Dean who came to see me late one Thursday afternoon. He was 66, former paramedic, still hiked, still sharp, still full of life. But when we sat down, he dropped his smile. Doc, he said, I want to be with my wife. I still love her, still feel it. But it's like the switch isn't flipping, my head's in it, but my body's silent. That silence I knew wasn't about desire. It wasn't about age, it was about chemistry. See, inside every man's body is a molecule that once flowed freely in his youth, nitric oxide. It doesn't sound impressive, but it's everything. Nitric oxide is the signal, the whisper that tells your blood vessels to open, that tells smooth muscle to relax, that sends blood into your penis with purpose. Without it, desire stalls, arousal flickers and fades. Not because you don't want it, but because your body can't follow through. Dean's testosterone was fine, his heart was strong, but I suspected his nitric oxide was fading quietly, invisibly, and that's exactly what we tested for. The result, his production was low, not gone, just muted, and that's where baking soda quietly enters the story. Now baking soda doesn't contain nitric oxide, it doesn't inject it into your veins. What it does is create the right environment for your body to make it again. When your system becomes too acidic, nitric oxide breaks down faster. The endothelial lining stiffens. The signal weakens. But baking soda, by gently alkalizing the blood, protects that lining. It reduces oxidative stress, and it helps your body hang on to the nitric oxide it still knows how to make. In one clinical study, athletes who supplemented with sodium bicarbonate had better stamina, better oxygen use, and higher nitric oxide response under physical stress. And what works under pressure in sports works just as well in the bedroom, where timing, flow, and responsiveness matter. Dean started with a morning glass of lemon water, paired with a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. We added breathwork, slow nasal breathing, and a few nitric oxide boosting foods. Nothing radical. 3 weeks in, he called my office. "Doc," he said, laughing, "I woke up this morning and, well, let's just say the switch finally flipped." He wasn't embarrassed. He was relieved. Because when your body starts responding again, not from pills or pressure, but from its own natural rhythm, it's like coming home to yourself. And yet, nitric oxide is only the beginning. Even if blood flows, even if vessels open, it all falls apart without one critical ingredient: oxygen. Not just in your lungs, but right where it matters most. And that's where we're heading next. Benefit number 4, improves oxygen delivery to erectile tissue. I met Howard in late spring. 72, retired firefighter. Still had that steady voice, the calm presence of a man who'd once walked into burning buildings without blinking. But this time the fire was internal. He looked me in the eye and said, "Doc, I still feel the desire, but it's like my body's forgotten how to respond. Everything's slower, duller, almost numb. Cardiovascular tests looked solid. Blood pressure, normal, but one number caught my eye: oxygen saturation on the low end. Now here's what many men don't realize. Blood flow alone doesn't create a full, lasting erection. The blood must carry oxygen. Without it, the tissue can't expand, can't stay firm, and can't hold. This isn't about lung strength. It's about whether your red blood cells are delivering oxygen where it matters most. And past 60, that delivery falters. Acidity, inflammation, and stress stiffen the system. Hemoglobin clings too tightly to oxygen, starving the very tissues that need it. That's where baking soda steps in. By gently shifting your blood toward alkalinity, it helps hemoglobin release oxygen more easily. It improves transfer. It gives the tissues fuel. We started simple. Half a teaspoon of baking soda in warm water every other morning. A short walk. A bit of breath work. 3 weeks later, Howard was different, calmer, brighter. "I can't explain it," he said, smiling. "But there's warmth again, things feel alive. Like the engine's finally getting fuel. That warmth, that's real oxygenation. That's tissue waking up, not just with blood, but with vitality. Because erections aren't just pressure, they're energy. And that energy depends on something even deeper. A microscopic engine inside your cells. Let's talk about that next. Benefit number 5, boosts mitochondrial energy in smooth muscle cells. George was 68, retired auto mechanic from Indiana. Quiet hands, sharp eyes, a man who spent decades fixing engines. But now it was his own engine that refused to turn over. He leaned forward and said something I've heard before, but never so plainly. "It's not just starting, Doc, it's that halfway through I stall. I run out of power." And he was right, because that's exactly what happens when the mitochondria inside your smooth muscle cells start to fade. Most men don't know this, but inside the penis are muscle fibers that don't just let blood in, they hold it. And without energy, they can't. At the heart of that function are mitochondria, tiny generators inside each cell that produce the fuel needed to trap and maintain an erection. But with age, especially in bodies burdened by acidity and inflammation, those mitochondria weaken. They slow down, and so does everything else. This has nothing to do with motivation or desire. It's about whether your cells have the energy to finish what they start. And that's where baking soda makes a difference. Not as a stimulant, but as a buffer. During physical stress or effort, the body builds up lactic acid, which exhausts your muscles, including the smooth muscle responsible for holding an erection. But baking soda helps neutralize that acid. It buys your mitochondria time, space, and stability. In multiple studies, sodium bicarbonate has been shown to improve endurance and delay muscle fatigue. And though most of that research is in athletes, the biology is universal. Mitochondria don't care if you're lifting weights or making love. They just need the right environment to function. So with George, we kept it simple. A small dose of baking soda 3 mornings a week. Gentle stretching, easy walking, nothing extreme. 4 weeks later, he looked different, not younger, not transformed, just alive again. It's not perfect, he told me. But something's kicking in, like there's finally enough power to go the distance. That's what mitochondrial renewal feels like. Quiet, sustained, capable. But even with all that energy, there's still one question your body needs to answer. Is it hearing your hormones clearly? Because testosterone alone isn't enough. Your cells have to listen. And next, we'll talk about how baking soda can help them do exactly that. Benefit number 6. Enhances testosterone receptor sensitivity. Most men who walk into my office have already had their testosterone tested. It's one of the first things doctors check when performance fades. And more often than not, the numbers come back acceptable. Not ideal, but not dangerously low either, which makes the frustration even worse. That's exactly what happened with Philip, 64, retired police lieutenant, fit, clear-eyed. But defeated. They told me my testosterone was normal, he said, voice tight. So why do I feel like a shell of myself? And here's the truth I told him, the truth most men never hear. Your testosterone levels might be fine. But if your cells can't hear the signal, it won't matter. Testosterone doesn't work by floating around aimlessly. It has to connect to receptors on your cells, and those receptors have to be sensitive, responsive, open. But with age, and especially in the presence of chronic inflammation or internal acidity, those receptors become dull, sluggish, like trying to have a conversation through a thick wall. That's why some men with normal testosterone still feel flat, still feel tired, still feel disconnected. Here's where baking soda becomes unexpectedly useful. By gently lowering systemic acidity and easing low-grade inflammation, it helps clear the static around your hormone receptors. It doesn't raise testosterone directly, but it sharpens the signal path. It makes your cells more receptive, more responsive, more awake. Philip began a basic protocol, baking soda in water 3 times a week. Alongside that, we added resistance training, not heavy lifting, just enough to reawaken the muscle hormone connection. 6 weeks later, he came in with a quiet grin. My drive's back, he said, not just in bed, in life. I feel like something switched back on, and that's exactly what this is about. Not boosting numbers on a lab test, but restoring your body's ability to respond, to desire, to move forward with strength. Because testosterone is only useful when your body listens to it. But for that system to work well, your blood still has to be clean. Your organs, especially your liver and kidneys, need to be running smoothly. Because they don't just filter waste. They support hormone balance, blood flow, and metabolic clarity. And what baking soda does for them might surprise you. Let's explore that next. Benefit number 7, detoxifies the liver and kidneys gently. There's a man I think about often. His name was Franklin, 70, retired accountant, never smoked, ate clean, kept his numbers in check. From the outside, he looked like a man aging well. But when he sat across from me, he didn't talk about fatigue or intimacy or libido. He said this, "Doc, I just feel clogged, heavy. Like I'm carrying something around I can't name." We ran the tests. His liver enzymes were slightly elevated, uric acid just a little high, kidney function barely out of range, nothing alarming. But together, they told a quiet story. His detox systems were tired, and that matters. Because as we age, our liver and kidneys, the body's natural filters, can slow down. The liver, responsible for processing hormones and breaking down toxins. The kidneys, vital for blood pressure, acid-base balance, and hormone regulation. When these organs become sluggish, the effects ripple outward, testosterone conversion gets disrupted, blood becomes heavier, less efficient, inflammation rises, and sexual vitality dims quietly but steadily. This is where baking soda steps in, not as a harsh detox, but as a gentle support. By helping neutralize acid waste, baking soda reduces strain on the kidneys. It promotes a healthier urine pH, making filtration easier. For the liver, it helps improve bile flow and reduce the metabolic burden caused by internal inflammation. It's not a cleanse. It's a reset, quiet, respectful, and consistent. With Franklin, we added a glass of warm water with lemon and a quarter teaspoon of baking soda every other morning. No gimmicks, just rhythm. 3 weeks in, he returned with clarity in his voice I hadn't heard before. I feel lighter, he said, like my body isn't dragging me anymore. That lightness, that's what happens when the filters start working again. Your blood moves cleaner. Your hormones balance easier. Your mind feels clearer. And yes, your performance begins to return, because when your liver and kidneys work with you, everything else starts to follow. But even with all that working in your favor, blood flow, oxygen, energy, hormones, there's still one saboteur that can bring it all down: sugar. And the cravings that feed it, that's what we'll take on next. Benefit number 8, reduces sugar cravings and supports weight loss. Harvey was 66, retired high school football coach. Still had the broad frame, still wore the old team cap. But when he walked into my office, he didn't talk about plays or pain. He patted his belly and said, "This thing's ruining me, doc. I eat better than I used to, walk every day, but it's like it won't budge. And I swear it's draining me." And he wasn't wrong, because what he was pointing to wasn't just fat, it was something deeper. Visceral belly fat is hormonally active. It doesn't just sit there. It produces an enzyme called aromatase, which slowly converts testosterone into estrogen. So the more belly fat you carry, the less testosterone you keep. And that means less desire, less stamina, and less ability to feel like yourself. But it gets worse. That same belly fat also drives sugar cravings, late-night snacks, afternoon crashes. And those swings in blood sugar don't just affect weight, they directly impact mood, energy, and yes, erection quality. Harvey had tried everything: more greens, fewer carbs, intermittent fasting, but the cravings kept pulling him back. Here's where baking soda offers a quiet advantage. By supporting a more alkaline environment in the body, it helps stabilize blood sugar. It reduces the acidity that often spikes after high-carb meals, and that steadier chemistry can help dial down those urgent, irrational sugar cravings. It's not about willpower, it's about balance. We started Harvey on a simple morning ritual: warm water, lemon, a pinch of baking soda, followed by a protein-rich breakfast and a walk. Within 4 weeks, the difference was visible and not just on the scale. "I'm not chasing snacks like I used to," he said. "And for the first time in a long while, I actually feel in control." That control is everything. Because when sugar stops leading, testosterone steps back in. When cravings fade, clarity returns. And when the belly begins to shrink, the man underneath begins to re-emerge. But even with balanced blood sugar and restored hormones, there's still one system that can shut everything down in an instant, even when you want to connect. It's not physical, it's neurological, and that's what we'll explore next. Benefit number 9, helps calm the nervous system. Raymond was 70, retired Navy vet, upright posture, clear, steady gaze, but when the door closed, his voice changed. "I still love my wife, doc, I still want her. But every time we get close, my body locks up. It's like I freeze, I don't understand it." And that right there, that moment of honesty, opened the door to something most men never hear about. Your nervous system can block intimacy, even when everything else is working. Because behind every erection, every moment of connection, there's a quiet biological switch between two branches of the nervous system: the sympathetic, or fight or flight mode, the parasympathetic, or rest and receive mode. And the truth is, many older men are stuck in the first, even when they don't feel anxious, even when they think they're calm. Years of stress, inflammation, trauma, or even poor sleep can keep the body locked in subtle tension. The heart rate stays just a bit high. The breath stays shallow. The muscles never quite relax. And in that state, your brain won't allow blood flow to the penis. Not because it doesn't want to, but because it thinks you're in danger. Here, S where baking soda once again plays a small but significant role. By reducing internal inflammation and lowering systemic acidity, it helps shift the body toward parasympathetic dominance, the mode where arousal, digestion, and connection can safely happen. Some emerging research even suggests that baking soda calms overactive immune signals in the kidneys and spleen, organs that constantly report stress to the brain. Quiet those signals, and the nervous system can finally reset. Raymond didn't need medication. He needed space to feel safe in his own skin again. We gave him a routine, baking soda with lemon water 3 mornings a week. Gentle breathwork in the evening, no pressure, no goal, just presence. 5 weeks in, he looked at me, eyes soft for the first time. "Doc," he said, "it's like my body finally trusts me again. That's what a regulated nervous system feels like. Not excitement, not arousal, but safety. And from safety, everything else can rise." Which brings us to our final piece, one simple combination that ties all of this together. Something you likely already have in your kitchen. And something that, when paired with baking soda, can quietly unlock your whole system again. Let's look at that now. Benefit number 10, combines powerfully with lemon or apple cider vinegar. Bari was 74, a widower for 5 years. He had just started dating again, cautiously, tenderly, after years of silence. But when we sat down, he didn't talk about the woman, he talked about himself. "I feel rusted shut," he said, "like everything's in there but nothing moves." And that's when I offered him something so simple, so ordinary, that he looked at me sideways. A little baking soda and lemon. He chuckled at first. "That's it, yes, that's it, because when combined, baking soda and lemon juice or apple cider vinegar form a natural synergy. Not explosive, not harsh, but gently reactive in a way your body can actually use. See, lemon and vinegar both support digestion, bile flow, blood sugar balance, and detoxification. On their own, they're already helpful. But when paired with baking soda, they help buffer the acidity more evenly, allowing the body to absorb the benefits without overwhelming the system. The mild fizz that happens in your glass, that's not just chemistry. It's balance being restored. We gave Bari a simple morning ritual: warm water, a squeeze of lemon, a quarter teaspoon of baking soda, slowly sipped on an empty stomach, nothing rushed. 4 weeks later, he walked in with a twinkle I hadn't seen before. "I didn't expect much," he said, "but I feel lighter, not just in my gut, in my mind. And I'm responding again. If you know what I mean, I did, and so did he." Because this combination, humble, almost too simple, supports not just one system but all of them. It calms inflammation. It aids circulation. It improves oxygen delivery. It enhances hormone sensitivity. It steadies the nervous system. And most importantly, it reminds your body what balance feels like. Not forced, not synthetic, just aligned. This isn't about fixing you, you're not broken. It's about supporting the systems that already know how to heal if you give them the right tools in the right form at the right time. And this combination, for many men like Bari, it's been the first real step back toward vitality. But you may be wondering now, how do you actually use baking soda safely? How much? How often? And how do you make it part of real life, not just another forgotten habit? That's what we'll wrap up with next. A conclusion: the real medicine is in the return to balance. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you, not just for listening, but for staying with me and with yourself. Because let's face it, most men wouldn't. They'd scroll past. They'd tell themselves it's too late. They'd whisper, "This doesn't apply to me," and turn away. But you didn't. And that tells me something about you: that you still care, that you're still in the game. That you're still willing to fight for strength, connection, and the man you know is still in there. We've covered a lot. 10 powerful ways that something as simple as baking soda, a pantry item most men never think twice about, can quietly support stronger erections, clearer energy, and a healthier, more responsive body after 60. Not by replacing medicine, But by restoring terrain, the environment inside your body where blood can flow, hormones can speak, oxygen can land, and your nervous system can finally say, "You're safe now." That's where real healing happens. Now, if you're wondering how to get started, here's what I recommend. Safe, practical use of baking soda. Dosage: start with 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon mixed in a full glass of room temperature or warm water. Timing: take it on an empty stomach, ideally 30 minutes before breakfast. Frequency: 2 to 4 times per week is enough for most men, no need to overdo it. Optional enhancement: add a squeeze of fresh lemon or 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar for better synergy. And please, talk to your doctor if you have high blood pressure, kidney issues, or are on sodium-restricted diets. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being intentional. This ritual won't change everything overnight, but done gently, consistently, with the right rhythm, it creates momentum. It tells your body, "We're coming back." So start small, observe, and trust the process. And if this episode gave you even one insight, one moment of reflection, one flicker of hope, I ask just one thing: give it a like. Not just for me, but so this message reaches other men who are struggling in silence. It's men who need to know they're not alone. Men who, like you, deserve a second wind. Leave a comment, even just a 1 if it landed, or a 0 if you're still thinking. I read them all. And if you've already tried this, share your story. You never know who it might help. And if you believe in this kind of science, honest, natural, made for men like you, consider subscribing. This channel exists because men like you care enough to listen. Remember, you are not broken, you are not past your prime, you are simply in need of a return to balance, and you have the power to begin. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott. Thank you for trusting me with your time, your health, and your hope. Stay strong, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.